Let's do a speed round here because we're about out of time. St. Louis County Council, as we make our way down the ballot, a lot of talk after Ferguson that the council didn't represent the way the county looks, the concerns of the county, anything. There are 3 seats up for election. Anything significant change-wise going on at the county council level that you guys are aware of?
Well, it'll be a Democrat likely to win the seat in the northern part of the county. But the question is going to be whether it's an African American or a white Democrat, one that represents labor or one that's a newcomer to this area. And that's going to be a really interesting seat to watch.
There are some established political organizations up there in North County. It'd be very
Right.
hard for a newcomer to penetrate that because, again, there's a lot of loyalty and there's a lot of channels for money.
But the African American population is growing pretty rapidly in that part of the county and could offset that a bit.
Okay, the St. Louis City Circuit Attorney. We got 4 candidates, one of whom has been endorsed by the outgoing Circuit Attorney. I guess broadly, is this an issue that people beyond the city of St. Louis should even care about? Is this strictly a city issue, or does this have some sort of ramifications beyond regionally?
Well, the St. Louis Circuit Attorney has a lot of impact, part of its image, you know, because they handle so many cases, things that happen in the city, and it happens to people whether they live in the city or not. Now, the Circuit Attorney's race also is one that could be affected by all the stuff we've been talking about. This is a Democratic fight. Well, a lot of Republicans who live in the city often take Democratic ballots in the primary so they can weigh in on the city offices. Well, because this one is on the ballot at the same time you've got the governor's race and the AG's race and other things, the perception is many city Republicans are going to go ahead and take Republican ballots, which means they won't have a voice on Circuit Attorney or any of the other big city races, and actually that could have a dramatic effect on who wins. And the primary for Circuit Attorney is basically
the election.
That's the election.
Okay, last question here. I think we have time to squeeze in. You know, again, back to Ferguson and some young people that are on the scene. Rasheen Aldridge, the youngest member of the Ferguson Council, he's running for Ward 5 committeeman. Let's see, another Bruce Franks running for State Representative District 8. Do you see any momentum for newcomers on the scene here in the region?
I think that's going to be something that the political scientists will get into studying after the election. You look at DeRay Mckesson, who was one of the big protesters that became a national name during Ferguson, who ran for mayor in Baltimore and didn't do very well at all. And you could say, well, he didn't do very well at all, so there's nothing to that movement. Well, look at the number of people that are following that example and running in local races. And so I think this November, the question isn't whether or not some of the African Americans that are getting more active because of the Black Lives Matter movement win. The question is, do they become active? Do they start to build coalitions? Do the numbers of voter turnout in those certain districts and areas show that there is some excitement and momentum? That's going to be the question, and I don't think we'll know that until after the primary and after November. To be able to answer that question. I don't think it's a simple yes or no whether or not some of those candidates win or lose. Some of them may just be the wrong candidate at the wrong time in the wrong area, but that doesn't mean that they aren't participating in something that's going to show some momentum that could change the region in terms of how we view electoral politics.
Just as important is to find out what people are thinking in Ferguson, and we'll have people doing polls in the election to try to figure out what it is that's on the mind of the voters in that city.
And then we'll have more from Illinois after this primary season. We've got some interesting, especially a U.S. Senate race that could get interesting in November as well. Andy Theising, Dave Robertson, Tony Messenger, and Joe Mannies, thank you all for being here.